One step forward, 50 steps back. That's the way I would describe this one. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another post game here on Rangers Central, and the Rangers fall again. They can't string together back-to-back wins. It's literally impossible, and they drop this one 7-4 to the Washington Capitals. The most impressive part might be that Alexander Ovechkin was held off the board as much as he was and only was able to net one versus what I thought. I thought for sure he was going to get like a hat trick today and we were going to just, boost him to the goal record and stuff like that. But instead he ends up netting one today. And that was probably the best part, the only positive you could take away from this one. Outside of that, nothing at all, because Jonathan Quick followed up his great performance with a terrible performance. The defense in front of him was not any better, and this team got a couple of offensive opportunities, and they did what they've been doing all year, where they score a couple rush goals, get a couple broken play goals, and then that's it for them. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's just kind of the same old at this point with this team. K'Andre Miller played terribly today. Yet again, I don't know what more there is to say about him. Ryan Lindgren flipping pucks over the glass, just playing absolutely piss poor yet again. Can't stay on his feet on the penalty kill. It's just the same thing every single time. It just is, and I don't know what to tell you. This is a bottom-feeding team more than a playoff team. And if anyone feels differently, I don't know what to tell you, because this team has a 2% chance to make the playoffs at this rate versus a better chance of winning the first overall pick. So if you're still in denial about that, I can't help you with that one, my friends. So yeah, it is what it is. They are just not good enough, and changes have to happen. That goes without saying, and I fully expect some of these guys to some of these guys better be moved come the trade deadline, because they got to find a way to get something for Ryan Lindgren. K'Andre Miller is not worth paying at this point, and yeah, it just comes down to that. And this is another thing: you got three left-handed defensemen in the lineup that are just not better than Zach Jones. And again, I understand that Zach Jones has not been playing great, or the last time we saw him, he was not playing great. But put him back in and give him a chance. And if he can't play over Euro Vakanainen, K'Andre Miller, and Ryan Lindgren, then why is he still here? Because if he can't get in over those guys, he's not getting over guys that are on their way in the pipeline and guys that they might sign this offseason. So what's the point of him being here? I mean, K'Andre Miller is just terrible. He's never positioned right. And how about the fact that the puck's right in the crease for him to sweep away or put under Jonathan Quick to cover it up for a save, and instead he's just dishing it right out. And then you have him not paying attention, letting Ovi just walk right in. He's just bad. And then Ryan Lindgren, like I said, flipping pucks over the glass. Just a terrible game from him. Can't stay on his feet ever. Simple as that. And Jonathan Quick, again, didn't do you any favors today. And I get, again, because it's the same thing that happens with Igor. Oh, but the defense in front. Jonathan Quick had to make a couple more saves here and there. And he was a little all over the place in the net today. And he didn't give a great performance. I mean, it's just that simple. He wasn't making the huge acrobatic saves he was making against Boston, and they paid for it. They paid for it heavily today. And the power play, still not getting it done. They're like one for their last 33 or 34, whatever it is at this point. And it got to a point where Lafreniere, which, by the way, oh my goodness, the back check by him, or I should say the lack thereof by him on that one power play, rather, that they had. He should have sat for that. I'm sorry. I don't know how you let him go back out there the next shift after he has a lazy back check on the power play. That should warrant at least skipping his next shift. But no consequences there. Sweep it under the rug. And then they put Mika back out there at the end, which, hey, you know what? Mika got on the board there. And you know what? He had a nice goal actually today, so I hope Vancouver saw that one and is, looking and a little more intrigued by the idea of potentially sending Elias Pettersson over here, right, for Zibanejad, since fans think that's realistic. I don't think it is. I would love to get Elias Pettersson here, and I would move literally anyone on this roster to get Elias Pettersson on the Rangers, but it's probably just not going to happen. They're probably looking more at JT Miller, but yeah, Alexi Lafreniere, again, he's just pedestrian there on that power play, not making an effort to get on the back check, and I don't know what he's doing. And again, I know that it did not result in a goal, but it's the principle of it. It just is. Man. And they got gifted one of the goals because Chris Kreider got the first goal where Logan Thompson just handed it right to him. And I don't want to hear anything about the refs with that regard. Man, play defense. Play defense. And we don't have to worry about the refs. Play for once in your own end. And especially against a good team like Washington. They're one of the best teams in the league offensively. And just nothing defensively. Yet again, I mean, it's pretty much what's been all year. But, man, to let Washington just have a field day on you. And then Phil Peedle, even though he scored today and it was a nice goal, there was a lack of effort from him in the D zone at points too. Like, he's got to tie a man up every now and then. He's got to be more aware situationally. He just wasn't. And it's a shame too, because I thought the first 5 minutes were actually like the best, some of the better hockey we've seen from them in the past few weeks. I saw them actually willing to work below the goal line on the forecheck, work for pucks, and they didn't generate much off of it, but at least I could sit there and say, you know what, they're getting pucks in deep, they're working below the goal line, and they're actually trying to win some board battles and generate something. Again, would like to see them actually generate chances off of that, but nonetheless, I could at least sit there and say, you know what, they're doing some little things right. Still didn't look great in the defensive zone, but at least they were doing things right, and then it just all spiraled like it typically does with this team. And that's the unfortunate part. But yeah. Really, that's all there is to that. Just again, power play couldn't come through today really at all. And by really, I mean they didn't. And that was one of the bigger differences. Their power play literally did nothing today. Power play's done nothing, and they look completely clueless out there. There's just no creativity. It's just the same power play over and over again, where they're forcing passes to Mika. And when Mika's not out there, they look even more lost, because it's just incredible, because they don't have the one thing that they would do, which is try to get Mika the one-timer, and he can't do that right now. The penalty kill was terrible. The defensive play was terrible. Just that simple. It's just that simple. And again, Quick, every now and then, I'd like to see him make a stop or two, because I get you faced a lot of volume and you faced a lot of high-quality chances, but if I'm going to say it about Igor, I got to say it about you. You got to make a save every now and then. You have to make a save. And yeah, I mean, Borgen's just not good at all. But yeah, I'm going to see what some of you guys are saying in the chat. Leave a like, by the way, if you haven't already. Subscribe, all that other stuff. And let's see what you guys are saying. And this is true, too. They got gifted 2 goals because you had that bad turnover for the Carrot goal as well. Just took a weird little bounce, too, off of Edstrom. And yeah, Washington was sloppy today. Like, they didn't look crisp in their own end, and the Rangers still didn't really capitalize off of it enough. But this is what happens when you're not a top-end team anymore. This is what happens. This is why I said in the last post-game stream when they won, I'm going to start treating them like they are a bottom-feeding team, because they have lost the right of me getting worked up and mad and treating them like they're a top-end team, because that's just not them. They play like a bottom-feeding team. That's how I'm going to treat them. I appreciate that, Jeff, and I'm sorry, but I gotta keep it part of the titles. That's just how it gets engaged. All I could say with that one is for the day games, I would just recommend shutting notifications for my streams so you don't see them. But I appreciate the support, and I understand that. I've been there before where getting the score spoiled is annoying. And he had one nice play. I mean, yeah, sure, he had that nice play where he stepped up to let the to allow one of the goals to happen, but or that was the one that didn't count actually. That was the yeah, that was the one that didn't count. I didn't like Borgen's game though that much personally. I thought that he was again, I just don't see anything with this guy. I just don't at all. How many goals was Lindgren on for? Too many. I lost count, honestly. Truthfully, I did lose count. And I'm not disagreeing with that I'd rather Borgen play over Miller, but I mean, we're talking about like the lesser of two garbage here. That's truly what it is. I can't understand the whole JT Miller obsession. I really can't. Like, I'm seeing people talking about in Vancouver that he's quitting on his team and everything, but he's supposedly some alpha male that's going to come in here and set the locker room straight. No. Get me Elias Pettersson if you're going to get me someone from Vancouver. That's who I want. And you know what? I was a little more on the fence about it last stream. I'm fully on board with it. I'm fully for getting him. And I will fight every single person if I have to about that one. I'm completely on board with it. And yeah, JT Miller hasn't won anything. He doesn't even wear a letter right now. And yeah, this okay, I thought you were saying Panarin had a bad game at first, which that I would say Panarin, I mean that second line in general just terrible. Lafreniere bad, Panarin brutal, just invisible, and Trocheck too. But to address this with the whole thing of Pettersson's too soft. Remember when Karl Anthony Towns was soft before arriving to New York? Remember when Marian Gaborik was considered soft and not a playoff performer, and then he went on to the LA Kings and probably should have won the Conn Smythe the year they won the Stanley Cup? Remember when Matthew Tkachuk was not putting up like any points at all for the Calgary Flames, and then he went to the Florida Panthers and started performing? Remember when Panarin was actually a point per game in the playoffs? And then that changed. My point is that narratives could change. And changes of scenery could get guys going. I would like Elias Pettersson. Sorry. I will fight it to the grave. Thank you for the $2. Time to wake up. Hot take. Keandre Miller is the worst D-man on the Rangers. I don't think that's a hot take, and I think you're correct with that take. Ever since coming back from injury, it's been brutal. Yeah, and you also have Elias Pettersson, who's put up 100 points in Vancouver. So what's your point here? I'm not sure where you're going with this one. Elias Pettersson has had 100. Is it one or multiple 100-point seasons in Vancouver? He's had one. He had a good season last year, 89 points last year. I'm sorry. Because I just said it. I just said my reasoning why. So, can anybody like explain to me what I'm missing here? Because you have Mika Zibanejad, who nobody complained about when he was putting up the production. You have fans still crying about Pavel Buchnevich being traded when he's considered a soft player. So now we're just shifting the goalpost here. I'm sorry, if you could get me a guy that is putting up north of 90 points or 100 points at age 26, and in a down year, by the way, in three less games now, has more points than Lafreniere by a decent margin as well, and was over a point per game 1 year in the playoffs. And last year, I get it, he did not have a great postseason. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But things could change. The situation in Vancouver is ugly right now. What other option do they have right now, too? Would you rather them trade for JT Miller, who's 30 years old, or 31, going to be 32 in March? Or would you rather them try to get a guy that has proven in the past that he's a premier elite talent in Elias Pettersson? Because they're not going in the rebuild direction. They are just not. If they were willing to go in the rebuild direction, my entire demeanor towards this conversation would be completely different, and I would say, not even worth our breath, they should be rebuilding. But that's not going to happen. If they're trying to turn things around and contend again, I'm sorry, I want Elias Pettersson on this team. Thank you for the $2. I don't think Buffalo's trading Tage Thompson. I would love Tage Thompson. I don't think Buffalo's doing that. Anthony coming in here. If you could get Pettersson for Lafreniere, you do it every day and twice on Sundays. Pettersson is capable of scoring 100 points. It took Lafreniere 4 seasons to even reach 57 points, and this season he's on pace for 47. Any Ranger fan who's saying no is delusional. And it's not like you could even say, well, what if he gets power play time? Because he's getting the power play minutes right now, and he's squandering in the moment. And I get that the personnel right now with the power play is not good, and everybody's underachieving. But if you have the opportunity, if Vancouver's seriously that interested in Lafreniere and Schneider, if you're telling me you could get for Lafreniere, Schneider, and a middle round pick, Elias Pettersson, you're crazy if you're saying no. You're crazy. I'm sorry. And Andrei Svechnikov. No, man. Come on. That guy is pissed on his own leg so much for Carolina. Yeah, actually, I mean, he does help. He's actually a good, responsible 200-foot player. That's why I can't get behind this narrative that he's soft because he had one postseason where he wasn't a point per game. Again, I'm not going to run away and say that there are flaws to his game. I'm not sitting here saying he is the perfect player, the end-all, be-all answer. But if they could get him for Lafreniere and Schneider, and those are the two headliners of a package, I'm doing it. I'm taking the chance on the upside that Elias Pettersson will be that elite talent here in New York. Because I would rather that than... I'd rather Pettersson than Lafreniere. I'm sorry. I would rather a guy who has put up in one season. So in 2022-23, he had one less even strength point than Lafreniere had points total last season. Sorry, that was last season, actually. And if you want to even do that, so even strength points. He had 56 even strength points, while Lafreniere had 57 points total last season. If you want to go 5-on-5, in 2022-23, he had 56 points at 5-on-5. Lafreniere had 57 total last year. Pettersson, 2022-23 at even strength, 68 points. Lafreniere's total in a season high. And this is it. You could acknowledge there's a concern with Pettersson's poor play in the playoffs last year, but you could also be willing to take the risk because of the age and the upside. This is my point. And this I agree with, though. Lafreniere should not be touched in a JT Miller deal. But I don't know. To me, I'm willing to. I'm sorry. I'm willing to take the risk of Elias Pettersson. And if by the chance it happens, it's not going to happen. So this is honestly just a useless conversation to begin with, because I don't see the Rangers landing Elias Pettersson. I would be completely surprised if they did. But I will say right now, and everyone could come back to the streams and get on me if I start being upset, if I start to get upset with Elias Pettersson, and everybody could tell me I was wrong and throw tomatoes in my face and tell me I was wrong. But I'm willing to put my hand up and say I was wrong if it ends up happening, by the small chance it does. If it ends up happening and not working out, I will put my hand up and say I was wrong. But it's something that I'm willing to take the chance on. That's just me. And I know that this is what I agree with. I mean, if it was up to me, I would want them to tear it down and just go in a younger direction as a whole and just try to build their own group here. But we know it's not going to happen. And this is it. He's in his prime. And for everybody that threw in my face, well, the Igor contract, the cap percentage will go down. Pettersson's will. Pettersson's might look like a bargain when we see what McDavid, Eichel, and all these other guys get when they hit the open market. Pettersson's contract might look like a steal. And if you could find a way out of Mika's contract in a separate deal, all of a sudden you're actually adding cap space if Lafreniere and Schneider are out, and then you somehow got Mika out. The problem with Mikko Rantanen is they have a need for center right now. That's the problem. I mean, this is also very accurate that Drury should not be here making decisions, but that's a whole different conversation. My problem is this. If this is the case, that we're sitting here saying that they need a right wing one desperately, then why is Lafreniere an untouchable right now? Because he's technically their right wing one. I get you mean they need another right winger to play on the side along with Lafreniere, but I don't know. To me, I think that I don't know. I would pull the trigger on it personally. And this too. Laughed and cracked 60 points playing with Trocheck and Panarin, who had career years. Apparently, Vancouver thinks highly of him. And again, for me too, the reason that I'm so willing to do this is because I'm exhausted of the Rangers missing out on guys. And then we look in retrospect and say, you know what? They should have done more to get the guy. Like we did with Jack Eichel. Especially, like that being the main guy. I'm so tired of looking back in retrospect and being like, they should have done more to get this guy. I don't know. And this is not true. There's been plenty of reports to back up the Canucks would move Pettersson the right deal. And if the Islanders are going to truly offer Noah Dobson in a deal, that would make it a bit tougher. But I'm sorry. If they want Lafreniere and Schneider, take Lafreniere and Schneider. Yeah, I'm not on board with the JT Miller thing. I think that it's counterproductive. I don't think you're solving anything. And I don't see this alpha male type leader that people are suggesting that he is. And if that could be done one for one, then that's a different conversation. But I think that you'd have to attach something to Mika, and I don't know if I'm doing that. Again, I don't know. It's a little more. I don't love it as much then. Well, yeah, obviously there'd have to be more, but I'm saying those two as the headliners. Because those are the reported players. I'm going on the reports. The reported rumors is that Vancouver loves Lafreniere and Schneider so much. And if they do, if they truly value both of them that much, then maybe it could happen. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying it will happen, any of this. I'm saying maybe it could. All right. I'm going to wrap up the stream, though, here, guys, because I got stuff to do today. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one.